Hi y'all, I'm Chase, and this is my 2017 Road King with a Milwaukee-Eight 107, affectionately known as Alice. And I am on my way out again up my treacherous road. And I have an errand to run. I need to pick up a couple of things from the store. It's a beautiful day out. I think it said 84 degrees when I left. Not bad. It's a little humid, but that's how Ohio is, so. But anyways, I think today's video is going to be about, should I just go ahead and start out on a touring bike? I actually had somebody ask me that. I just laughed and laughed. They thought I was being mean or something, and well, I'm not being mean, but I would honestly say no. I'd say I am mediocre at best on a touring bike, and if I was on a scale of 1 to 5, I'd probably be about a 2. I'm still getting used to it. It's not like my Sportster at all. It's a lot heavier. The maneuverability is different. It is more comfortable by far. I mean, it's more comfortable than my Dyna was, and my Dyna was more comfortable than my Sportster was. So, but yeah, I don't think anyone should start out on a bike like this, especially when you're pushing over 100 foot-pounds of torque, and it all comes on right at the bottom end like that. Yeah, I can do burnouts and everything else with this. It's got tons and tons of torque. I can wheelie this thing. I didn't even know I would be able to the first time I got on it. I cranked on the throttle like I did on my twin cam. I was in first gear on this. I was getting on the freeway and I missed a shift. I thought I pulled up enough with my boot. It was before I got my new boots, and it indented on my boot, and I didn't shift into second gear. I was in first. I let out the throttle like I always do, and the front wheel came off the ground. So yeah, I don't think this is a great bike to start out on. Any touring bike for that matter. At least the large ones like these. These are let's call them experienced rider bikes. These are not for somebody that's just starting out. Honestly, I wouldn't even start somebody out on a Sportster. I mean, a Sportster, an 883, only has like 50 foot-pounds of torque. That thing will wheelie. People don't realize how much 50 foot-pounds of torque is on a bike that weighs 550 pounds. I mean, you're in that magical ratio of, 10 pounds per horse. And when I was a kid, 10 pounds per horse was a very, very, very fast car. I mean, you're talking about a 3,000 pound car with 300 horsepower. That's going to be damn fast. And being that you don't have the contact patch like you do on a on a car with a motorcycle, you can get into trouble. You can lose traction pretty easy. In fact, I wish I wouldn't. My first street bike wasn't a Sportster. As much as I loved it, I wish it wasn't a Sportster. I wish I'd have been smart and started out on a 250 like my cousin. And there's a couple of reasons. One of them is weight. He started out on a little 250 Kawasaki. I started out on an 883 Sportster. So probably 30 or so more horsepower, 30 or so more foot-pounds of torque than a little 250 Ninja. That's a big difference. People don't realize that. It's not something people can comprehend until you've been on it. You don't know what it's like to ride a motorcycle until you actually ride a motorcycle. The sensation of speed is completely different. And I mean, I've been in a car that's been doing 200 miles an hour. So even then, it's not the same sensation. I mean, I think maybe I might have got my my Ninja 600 up to about 130. And that was more terrifying than the car doing 200. I don't know, maybe it's because there's nothing enclosing you, giving you that false sense of security, because I'll tell you what, if you wreck at 200 miles an hour in a car, you'll be just as dead as if you wreck on a motorcycle at, I don't know, 160. Woo, boy, she sure does move for a big girl. But, yeah. I should have started on a 250. But, you know, like most guys, more power, Harley, I wanted to get a Harley. I mean, that's what I wanted my whole life, I think. I mean, honestly, I mean, I like Ducatis and Aprilias and stuff, and I always loved those too, but, I mean, when I was a kid, that's what everybody rode. So, I mean, I made a video before about, you know, starting out on like a Dyna. I don't think I would recommend it, honestly. I mean, even that new Sportster, the 975, supposedly that's like 90 horsepower and 70 foot-pounds of torque on a bike that's under 500 pounds. That is not a beginner bike. That is a bike that will go very, very fast and pick up speed. I mean, the acceleration on it's going to be probably about what it is on this, or very close to it. It's gonna get. I wouldn't even consider that a starter bike. That's a very dangerous kind of bike to, I don't know, start out on. 90 horsepower and 70 foot-pounds of torque that's up there. I mean, that's a very fast, if you went back to like 1995, that's a very fast bike. I mean, that's like, I don't know, it's like a 900, maybe 1,000 Japanese bike, you know, like a, I don't know, like a standard. It's going to be fast. So I don't think that is even a starter bike, and I don't even really think that an 883 is a starter bike. At least it shouldn't be. I mean, if you want to start out on something, start out on like a 400, you know, like a Kawasaki or something, or 300, you know, Yamaha. But I mean, on any motorcycle, you can get yourself in trouble pretty quick. It's a dangerous thing. It's a dangerous hobby, let's say. So I mean, unless you are a very, very controlled person and are very, very confident, I wouldn't suggest to anyone to start out on a touring bike. And I'm sure there's guys that have, but I mean, those people, they're an aberration. They're freaks. Not in a bad way or anything, but I mean, they're a different type of person. I don't know what you want to call it. Now, moving up to a bagger, touring bike, whatever you want to call it. After you have like 250 or 400, even then, I mean, there's a different sensation of coming to a stop, the weight of the bike. There's a lot of, I don't know, it's so different. So, I don't know, I did a progression, and honestly, I think I probably could have went to a touring bike. I was scared of it because of the weight. But once you're on it, you don't really notice the weight when you're moving. It's only when you stop, or when you're trying to, I don't know, back up and turn the thing, or, you know, and very, very slow, like pulling out of a parking spot when you're backing it up. That's the only time you really notice the weight. So maybe I could have went from like a Sportster to a touring bike and I would have been okay. But I think going from a Sportster to a Dyna or a Softail to a touring bike, that's still probably the way to go. And I'm just being honest with what I would probably do, and I would probably do it again. So, but for somebody that's just starting out, no, a touring bike, it's not something I would recommend for somebody as a first motorcycle. I mean, even something from the 80s or 90s that's a little low down. I mean, the torque is still, it's still 70 foot-pounds of torque, but the weight is different. It's, I don't know, it's the slow stuff backing up. I don't know, maybe it's building up leg strength. Maybe you're a strong guy and you just said screw it and you did it, but for me, I think I did it the right way. I mean, my legs are plenty strong, but with a bad back and a bad neck and having to pick a bike up, I needed to get used to it. So in general, I would say no. Do not get a touring bike. And this, I mean, that's even for the Japanese ones. I mean, the Japanese touring bikes, you're talking about probably over 100 horsepower, somewhere approaching 100 foot-pounds of torque, just about as much as a Harley, and probably 600-700 pounds. So, and it's going to be higher up off the ground too. That's the other thing people don't take into account. Like one of those Japanese bikes, that's going to be more ground clearance, and you're not going to be flat-footing it usually. Maybe 1 foot you might flat-foot it, but most people, you know, 5'6" and up, maybe to 5'10", 6 foot, you're probably not going to flat-foot it. Once you get over like 6'1", 6'2", you might be able to flat-foot it depending on, you know, your inseam, like 34, 35, 36 inch inseams, maybe. 32s are a possibility, but most of the time it's like 34 and up. So even on the Jap bikes, you know, like a Ninja 1000, those SXs, those are, I mean, it's a sweet bike and everything, but flat footing it isn't something you're just gonna do. So, and it's gonna be more top heavy, whereas the Harley's gonna be more, all the weight's more down low. So it's just a different feeling. So I would say start out on something small. I mean, to be safe. Get used to riding, get used to taking turns, to leaning into turns, that kind of stuff. Because that's the hardest thing to learn, is to lean into a turn. Even at slow speeds, it's kind of weird, because you feel like the bike's going to fall over, but it's not going to. So, but I just thought that was funny. I had somebody ask me that, and I said no. I would not do that. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Like and subscribe. Click that ding-a-ling to be notified of any new videos I come out with. And bye, y'all.